Hello, friends. The canoe glides under the warm sun, and the ripples ahead remind me of lines in an ancient verse, patterns repeating, expanding, and yet returning to their source. That is how Vedic mathematics worked, not as dry arithmetic, but as a living philosophy. To the rishis, numbers were not just quantities, they were qualities, keys to the structure of the cosmos. They saw patterns in the petals of a lotus, the spirals of a conch, and the rhythms of chants. In the Silva Sutras, geometry wasn't confined to the page. It was sacred architecture. Imagine priests using precise rope measurements to build a perfectly aligned altar, not for beauty alone, but because every angle, every brick, echoed the order of the universe. They calculated the diagonal of a square long before the Greeks spoke of Pythagoras. They understood ratios and symmetry with the ease of breathing. To them, math was less about solving problems and more about harmonizing with Dharma, the natural order. It was a bridge between the seen and the unseen. Science, too, was deeply woven into this spiritual fabric. The Vedic world thrived on observation, tracking the sun's path, noting the phases of the moon, recording the arrival of monsoons. This was not idle curiosity, it was survival and ceremony in one. Astronomy, or Jyotisha, told farmers when to sow, kings when to march, and priests when to chant. The stars became calendars, and the skies a library of stories. Ancient observers even calculated the length of the solar year with striking precision. In the Rig Veda, there are hints of the Earth's rotation, of eclipses, of celestial mechanics that seem almost prophetic when viewed from today. Medicine, too, had its roots here. While Ayurveda would later blossom into a separate field, its seeds, diagnosing illnesses, understanding herbs, balancing bodily energies, were already present. The same mind that could calculate the shape of an altar could also note which plants soothed a fever. What makes Vedic science remarkable is its integration. There was no wall between the sacred and the practical. A fire altar was an astronomical instrument. A chant could be a mnemonic device for complex calculations. A ritual might encode agricultural wisdom. And yet, all of this was oral, passed from teacher to student, preserved in memory like a perfectly cut jewel. Accuracy was everything. One wrong syllable in a chant, one wrong length in a rope, and the harmony of the act was broken. That is perhaps why Vedic knowledge survived centuries of change, because it was lived, not just learned. Drifting onward, I think of the way numbers and science here weren't just tools, they were threads in a much larger tapestry. A farmer in Magadha might use the same measurements as a priest in Kuru. A healer in Panchala might follow the same lunar chart as a trader in Gandhara. It was a shared language of patterns, rooted in the rhythm of the world itself. And where there is rhythm, there is growth. For next, the river will carry us to the very fields where this knowledge found its most earthly form. The plow cutting furrows in time with the monsoon, the granaries swelling like the moon, and the taste of the harvest that fed both body and spirit. Agriculture and food coming ashore soon.